In today's video, in celebration of Independence Day here in the States, I thought it would be appropriate to highlight and break down an endgame situation that further demonstrates the restrictions you can face in the single corner. The name of this ending is called the American position. There are two pieces on each side of the board, but white has two kings and red has one king. The issue red has here is that it is confined to the single corner, which, as you'll see, greatly limits its mobility. So much so that this position is actually a loss for red. So let's play it through to understand why that's the case. So here we go, white to play and win. Now what white wants to do is ultimately cramp red in the single corner and win the game that way. And what red wants to do is advance the single piece to become a king and hopefully escape and draw the game. But white won't let that happen, and white starts by moving here first. And now red is going to try and again advance this piece to become a king. White further advances, as does red. Now the natural move for white here is to bring this same piece up here, but this actually draws. The key to win is by pressing the red piece here. Now there are several different ways red can play this, and I'll go through each of them in full. One variation is red can advance to become a king in this direction. White further presses, and now red must king on this square. If it kings here, then this white king is going to trap these two pieces, so instead it kings here. Now the key to winning in this formation is the white king moves into this square. And you'll see why in a couple moments here. The two red kings have some options here. Maybe the first option is to bring the king back out. Well, if red does that, this white king is going to move here. And now the king cannot move here to capture. If it moves here, it'll get into the same position. So it really just has one choice, and that's to move backward into the king row. Now white is going to move here next. What this does, it now traps this piece, so this piece can no longer move here or here, and red is limited to just one move, and that's here. Now, what does white do from here? White goes here next. Now, red cannot move here because of the double jump, and it can't move here because it'll just get captured, so it has to move back. And now the king moves here, and red is completely trapped. Now let's go back to that original formation here. So instead of the red king moving out this way, maybe the red king moves this way. And so white king moves back into the square, and if the king moves here, the white king moves here, again trapping all the pieces. So if it moves back, white king is going to come up here, and again we get into that same situation. And now the red kings are trapped once again. If the red king comes out this way, then white once again is going to trap this lone piece. So now red just really has a choice of three moves. It can move here. If it does that, then again this trap. If it moves here, the white king traps this piece, and now both pieces are trapped. And if it moves back here, then the white king goes here, and we're back into that same position. So that's one variation. Okay, let's go over another variation in the American position. So once again, we start here. And now, instead of the red piece moving into this square, maybe it decides to move into this square right here. So how white tackles this is it moves here, again, to further restrict this red king from moving out. So if red decides to king here, then the white king is just going to move here and trap these two pieces. If it gets a king in this square, then a similar trap can be enacted. Now this piece is trapped. Red king is going to move out here. White king is going to follow it. And then either here or here, the white pieces will trap the red pieces. So no good there. Instead, if the red king moves out here, then white can follow it up by moving here. So if it goes to king in this square, once again we have a similar trap, and either square the red king goes on, white is going to trap both pieces. If the red king moves here instead, the white king is going to follow up here, and again either have the same trap or here. If instead the red king moves back into the single corner, then the way to win for white is to move into this square. And now this red king is trapped, so red can either crown here, again the same trap, or here, trapped again. If red decides to get a king in this square, then the key to win for white is to move here next. That way this king can no longer move out because of the double jump. So once again, red must back into the single corner, and then white traps the kings once again. So that's another variation of the American position. And now for another variation of the American position. Once again, the essential move to win. Now if red decides to back up its piece with its king here, then the key to win for white is here. Now there's a few different options red can make here. If the king decides to go into the back row and hopefully create a bridge for the red king, for this piece ultimately, white can still win. The red king cannot move here or else this piece will just be trapped. So instead, it'll go towards the king row, get the king, but still ultimately be trapped. So that's no good. So if the red king decides to back into its single corner, then the way for white to win is here. And once again, the red king cannot move back because then this piece will be trapped. So instead, the red piece will go towards its own single corner. White will follow up. Red will get a king, that's its only move. And now white will trap the two kings here. This piece cannot move here, so really the only move for red is here. White will follow up. Again, this piece cannot move here for the double jump. So instead, the red king has only one choice, and that is to move back into the single corner. And once again, the pieces are cornered. So let's go back. Let's say the red king moves here instead. Well, white will follow up here. And now again, the white king cannot move here again. So red just has one move, and that's here. The white king is going to follow up. Now again, if it crowns here, we'll just move back and these two pieces will be trapped. If it crowns here instead, then again, white will move here. The king moves out. And once again, it will be trapped. Okay, and finally, you may be saying, well, why does red have to promote this piece to try to become a king? Well, I'll show you why. And if red just decides to leave this piece here, it's still a win. And red can move back and forth all it wants, but the timing is there for white, and white will win. If red tries to retreat into the double corner, there's just not enough time to get there safely. This is the best it can do here. And once again, white will win the game. So that's the American position. With all endgame positions, it is most important to take note of the theme and idea of the position and hopefully you will continue to see the restriction in retreating toward the single corner. I know there are some viewers that find endgame themes and positions especially boring or not applicable in their own games. Something to keep in mind is that many of these ideas can be applied in other facets of the game. So even if you don't run into the American position in your games, you can still take away the idea of how to execute a win. Thanks, as always, for watching.